Hi everybody, it's Amanda again at the Monticello-Union Township Public Library. We're back for another cooking class. Today we're making homemade sloppy joes, and I will tell you that I got this recipe from All Recipes. It's a site that I use quite often at home as well as here when I'm doing cooking for the teens. So today I've already got my ground beef and my onion going. This calls for 1.5 pounds of ground beef and half an onion. That is already in here browning up nicely and almost finished. And the other ingredients to our recipe today is garlic. And I used fresh garlic. You know how I like to use fresh garlic, so I chopped this up. It calls for minced, but I chopped this up pretty fine, so we should be okay. I have a whole green pepper in here. I have Dijon mustard, ketchup, salt and pepper, Worcestershire sauce, water, and a little bit of chili powder for at the end. So we're gonna start combining all this. This again is another recipe where you can just use what you have. If you have ground turkey instead of ground beef, or you like ground pork, as we do in my house, you can use that. My one piece of advice for ground pork would be if you use ground pork, season it while it's cooking with the onion, just so you don't have a lot of that pork flavor at the end. So I think my ground beef and onion is ready. So the next two steps are adding in the garlic. So we're gonna stir that in, as well as the green pepper. And again, I just roughly chopped the green pepper, nothing fancy. Get those out of our way. And we're going to switch spatulas here just a bit. I like this one a little better. So we're going to stir that in. It says to let it cook 2 to 3 minutes, so we're just going to let that kind of cook down. Again, I'm using our induction burner as always, and we're on medium to high heat. I turned it down just a little bit after the ground beef was done to give us some time. But you could go a little bit higher if you're at home and you're right there with it, because I'm doing multiple things here. I didn't want it to get away from me. So I've just got it on medium right now as we incorporate all this stuff down. So we're just going to let this cook, and then after that cooks for the 2 to 3 minutes, we're going to add this cup of water. The one difference with this recipe than the one I've used previously is this calls for a lot of simmer time at the end. I'm not real sure we're going to need it all, and I will tell you that when we finish up. We are going to tape this in segments as always, so you don't have to stick around for the boring parts. I'll let you know if it really needs all that simmer time. I don't think it's going to, because there's not a ton of liquid in this. Also, we just bought good old honey buns. You can get whatever you want. I prefer whole wheat at home. My kids like it when I get the little slider ones, so we have mini sloppy joes. You could also just use sliced bread if that's all you have. Use what you have at home. Don't go out and buy something special for sloppy joe. This is something easy you can throw together when you get home from work and have on the table really fast. Okay, I'm pretty happy with this. The onions are translucent. Our garlic is kind of fading away as well, which we want, and our green pepper is changing color. So I'm going to go ahead and put this cup of water in. And the specific thing it says when you add this water is to scrape all the bits off the bottom. That's a lesson I learned from a TV chef years ago about scraping all the bits off the bottom of your pan during cooking, because that's where all the flavor lives. And you want that flavor in your dish. So we just added that in, scraped that all. Making sure we're good. Okay, so now we're going to add our ketchup. This calls for 3/4 cup of ketchup and just a dash of our Worcestershire, so I'm going to try to be easy-handed with that. And then 1 teaspoon of our Dijon. So we're going to go ahead and add all that in now, because as I said, this does call for some simmer time. So we're going to do that. It calls for just a dash, so we're not going to go crazy. We know that Worcestershire sauce, like soy sauce, has a lot of flavor, so you want to be careful. It also has a lot of salt. So if you're watching your salt intake, you might want to be a little careful there. And then this calls for a teaspoon of Dijon, so we're going to try to kind of, there we go. Just a little bit extra in there. Okay, we're going to mix all that together. It's starting to smell really good in here. And this is going to need a little bit of simmer time, obviously. Okay, and this is also the time when we're going to do our seasoning. It does call for some measurements on the salt and pepper. As I've told y'all before, I'm an old school cook, so when I season, a lot of times I'm just grabbing my shakers. If you feel more comfortable using a recipe the first couple times, by all means do that. But if you know, like I do, what your family prefers as far as seasoning, it's okay to just kind of do it a little bit on your own. I'm also going to add just a little bit of chili powder in this as well, guys. Just for some extra flavor. Nothing crazy, just a little. And again, like I tell my kids when we're cooking in class, season a little to start because you can't take it out, but you can always add more. So we're going to leave our seasoning out here just in case it's not quite enough of something so that I can add it back in. Okay, so this is supposed to cook down a couple minutes, and then it asks us to add 1 more cup of water, and then we're going to put the lid on it and let it simmer. Now this says the simmer time is 40 minutes. I honestly don't think it's going to take us that long. Most of the recipes I use at home are 15-20 minute simmer times, so I think we're going to be okay, but I'm going to watch that water content just in case. So I'm going to add that cup of water, we're going to put the lid on, and we're going to simmer, and we'll bring you back when our dish is all finished. All right, guys, we're back. We have simmered for about 25 minutes, and as suspected, we didn't really need that 40-minute simmer time. I did cut back a little bit on the water, like I told you I was going to. This is what it looks like all done. This is our sandwich ready to go, and we have a special taste tester that's going to come in and help me out. If you've been in our library at all before, you know Scotty Miller. Around here, he's our resident foodie, loves food more than any person I know on this planet. So he's going to tell me if it's good or bad, and I have given him permission to tell me if it's bad. So please don't be upset if it's an honest review. And again, we made homemade sloppy joe using the all recipes recipe. This is something, though, that at home I don't really use a recipe for. I just throw things together. Go ahead whenever you're ready. Let us know if it's good or bad.
Pretty good.
He's smiling, so that's a good sign.
Need a napkin.
Now, I told you we're going to need a napkin. Yeah, he's going to need a napkin. So this is something you got to have extra napkins for, guys. But again, homemade sloppy joes, find the recipe on all recipes. Any questions or comments, please feel free to leave those for me and I'll get back to you. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.